Good evening and welcome to the June 8th City Council work session. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format this evening. For work sessions like this one, there is no opportunity for public comment, and those wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by calling into one of the phone numbers listed for this meeting on the public webcasts and meetings materials page of the City of Eugene website. In case of a medical emergency, an automated external defibrillator, an AED, is located on the counter behind staff, located to your left on the west side of this room. And in case of emergency evacuation, emergency exits are through the double doors that are located at the back of the room, and the doors to the patio can also be used as needed. Thank you again for joining us, and I now call the June 8th, 2026 work session of the Eugene City Council to order. And I will turn to City Manager Haruyama to introduce our first topic, which is a work session on long-range financial planning and financial condition update.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight's meeting is a third informational presentation prior to your long-range financial planning workshop that will be scheduled on June 30th and July 1st. Staff tonight will provide an update on the financial condition and unfunded needs, including information on several topics: the general fund, limited duration funding, distressed funds that are not in our general fund, and then unfunded needs. And this information is going to be foundational as you prepare for your workshop coming up at the end of the month. And I'll also include information from Nancy Hetrick, who is our consultant on the long-range financial planning. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Finance Director, Twyla.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Twyla Miller, your Chief Financial Officer. And I'm here with Maurizio in person, and as the City Manager said, Nancy Hetrick is joining us virtually today as well. So we have a range of topics to discuss, as the City Manager just said. An introduction or recap on long-range financial planning, general fund overview, distressed funds, limited duration funding, and unfunded needs before Nancy will wrap it up at the end for us. So today's objectives is an overview and understanding of the city's overall financial condition and the range of funding needs facing the city, as well as an opportunity for you all to identify additional information you may need as you come into your workshop coming up. We will be covering a wide range of topics today. There's a lot of slides in our deck. We're going to try to go as quickly as possible for you to leave you time for conversation and questions at the end. If there are questions that you have that we're not able to answer, please identify those for us, and we'll make sure you get answers as part of your pre-materials for your workshop. So this is our long-range City Council timeline for long-range financial planning. Today is the third session of informational session before your workshop. Strategic plan refinement will be incorporated into your workshop with a follow-up session on July 13th before you go on break for the summer. Development of a service framework, budget principles, and refinement of the strategic plan will be outcomes of this first phase of long-range financial planning work, which will inform the budget development process that begins this summer. So these are all of the elements we've been talking about over the past month or so on long-range financial planning, and today we'll be covering our financial condition and unfunded needs and emerging issues. So we'll start with an update of our financial condition. While our focus remains on our general fund and the structural gap, we will also be providing an overview of our distressed funds, limited duration funding, and unfunded needs as we look holistically across our service system. The service framework and budget principles we will be developing as part of your workshop will apply to services and programs across all funding areas. And with that, I'll turn things over to Maurizio to talk about our general fund.
Thank you, Twyla. My name is Maurizio Badalico. I'm a principal fiscal analyst in the finance division, and I'll be giving an overview of our general fund forecast. So, an important component of sound budgeting and financial management is forecasting. The general fund forecast is a tool that projects how much the city will spend and receive over the next 6 years, assisting policymakers in developing strategies to meet future challenges. Finance staff regularly monitor and track many variables for the forecast, which are shown at a high level here. The city has been utilizing the forecast for many years to help guide us through difficult financial times, and we continue to do so in today's environment where we have an ongoing structural budget gap in the general fund. Here's a quick look at some of the key data sources we use to inform our revenue and expense projections. In addition to city financial data, we also rely on forecast information from our partners as shown here. When our partners update their projections, we then incorporate that new information into our forecast as part of our regular updating process. Here are some of the key areas of uncertainty that we have reviewed before. Finance staff routinely monitor these areas for the latest updates and trends, and you'll hear more about some of these areas tonight. We live in a dynamic financial world where assumptions can change quickly, so we strive to regularly tie our forecast to the most current information available. As we last discussed on May 11th, the general fund has experienced a long-time structural imbalance caused by revenue growth not keeping pace with expenditure growth. The key drivers are shown here, which we reviewed in more detail last month. Tonight, I'm going to focus on current general fund projections and what's changed since the last forecast update. So before I jump into the forecast, here's a summary of general fund budget strategies going back to FY10. These strategies represent a mix of service reductions, efficiencies, realignments, and also some revenue increases. In particular, the larger strategies over the last few years, as shown by those longer arrows on the right-hand side of this chart, have helped the general fund make progress towards balancing the system and increasing reserves. So what you see here is the reserve for revenue shortfall target and the reserve forecast as part of the adopted budget. Due to the budget strategies I mentioned on the previous slide, meaningful progress was made to increase the general fund projected reserves nearly to the target level after years of running well below target coming out of the pandemic. The last financial condition update occurred at a budget committee meeting in December. At that time, the reserve trajectory was in a worse position due to the ongoing structural imbalance. The December point-in-time assumptions indicated that a future ongoing reduction strategy of $2.2 million per year starting in the next biennium would be needed to achieve the target reserve level as reflected by the green line. Since December, the general fund forecast has been updated with the latest information. First, I'll walk through the revenue and expense changes in the current forecast, and then we'll see how those changes impact projected reserve levels and the anticipated budget gap. This slide shows the general fund revenues with material changes since the last forecast update in December. While there were no notable revenue increases, we did have 3 revenue types that experienced significant decreases in the current forecast as shown on the right. The previous forecast was assuming $2 million of one-time land sale revenue in the current biennium. While staff continue to evaluate options, it's assumed that land sales will not occur this biennium, and this revenue has been removed from the forecast. We also received updated revenue forecasts from 2 of our partners. eWeb provided a new SILT forecast, and the League of Oregon Cities provided a new state shared revenues forecast. In both cases, the updated forecasts were revised downward significantly, which we'll talk about in more detail over the next few slides. eWeb contributions in lieu of taxes, or SILT, is primarily derived from electric retail sales. The amount of SILT revenue the city receives depends on the price of electricity and how much is consumed. eWeb provides the city with periodic forecast updates, and eWeb's latest SILT forecast is lower than previously projected for 2 reasons. First, eWeb sold its McKenzie Valley electric service territory to Lane Electric Cooperative effective May 1st. This area is shown on the right side of the map. The impact to the city of Eugene is that we will no longer receive SILT revenue from the McKenzie Valley area. Second reason for lower projected silt revenue is that eWeb's current forecast assumes a lower rate trajectory than the previous forecast. It's also important to note that silt revenue is influenced by the weather, and we receive most silt revenue during the colder winter months. If winter weather turns out to be warmer than anticipated, as we have experienced this past winter, that also has the potential to further reduce silt revenue. Got one sentence. The overall impact of these changes is reduced silt revenue of $6.6 million over the full forecast. The other source of significant revenue reduction in the current forecast is state shared revenues, which are derived from the sale of alcohol, marijuana, and cigarettes. The forecast for this revenue source is provided by the League of Oregon Cities. Most state shared revenue is derived from alcohol sources, and the distribution of state alcohol revenues is shown in this pie chart. Cities across Oregon receive 34% of the total. 20% is distributed on a per capita basis, and the remaining 14% is distributed based on a formula that takes other factors into consideration. This chart from 2024 shows the forecast for state alcohol revenue disbursements to cities. The top line represents the 20% share, and the lower line represents the 14% share. They trend the same because they come from the same funding source. At the time, it was projected that alcohol revenues would continue growing coming out of the pandemic. Here is the current alcohol revenue forecast from the League of Oregon Cities. There are various reasons for the decline in alcohol revenue disbursements, but one of the main drivers is the new OLCC, or Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission warehouse, currently under construction in Canby. Expenses for this new warehouse are funded by alcohol revenues, effectively reducing the size of the state shared revenues pot. Significant cost increases for the project over time means that cities are receiving less state shared revenue than they would have otherwise. Another consideration for state shared revenues is that alcohol consumption appears to be at least leveling off or trending downward as consumer preferences evolve. The overall impact of this change is reduced state shared revenue of $6.5 million over the full forecast period. So now let's shift gears from revenues to expenses and start with increased expenditures in the current forecast as shown on the left. The primary source of increased expenditures is the upcoming June supplemental budget. The forecast includes supplemental budget items previously directed by council, including expenditures related to the Court of Record implementation and also adding 3 economic development positions. June supplemental budget is still being finalized and will come before council for approval later this month. On the right side of this slide, there are a couple of expenditures that have decreased on the previous forecast. The city's pension bonds were issued in 2002 to pay down the estimated PERS unfunded liability at that time. Since then, the city has assessed a percentage of employee wages to pay the debt service on these bonds. This rate will be reduced for the final 2 years before the debt is fully retired in fiscal year 28. And since the last forecast, we received PERS advisory rates for the next biennium from our partners at PERS. And we'll take a closer look at those rates on the next slide. So now we'll walk through the various PERS employer contribution rates as a percentage of payroll for the current biennium and the next biennium. We'll move our way from left to right across this table. These are our City of Eugene specific rates. So these were the city's rates at the start of the current biennium on July 1 of 2025. You may recall the city participated in Cycle 2 of the Employer Incentive Fund, or EIF. The city made a lump sum contribution of $8 million and received a $2 million state match for a total side account of $10 million. This equates to a rate reduction of 1.09% effective January 1st of 2026 for the next 6 years. As of the December forecast, we were assuming rate increases of 3% of payroll over the current rates for the next biennium. We have since received advisory rates for the next biennium from the PERS actuary. The rates are still increasing from current levels, but the good news is that the increases are projected to be smaller than previously anticipated. The overall impact of this change is reduced PERS expenses of $8.2 million over the full forecast period. It's also important to note that these rates are advisory and they will be subject to change when we receive our actual PERS rates later this year. Inflation has also been a significant general fund cost driver, especially coming out of the pandemic with the highest inflation rates seen in decades. Higher inflation puts upward pressure on wages and increases the costs of materials and services. Oregon's chief economist issues inflation forecasts 4 times per year, and this chart shows the most recent inflation projection for June, which is the darker dashed line on the right, compared to the previous forecast from March. Also shown here are the general inflation rates assumed in the budget for both years of the current biennium. Near-term inflation is projected to exceed budget assumptions in the current biennium. This will add upward pressure on operating budgets as departments manage those higher costs within their existing budget authority. So now that we've reviewed the key general fund revenue and expense changes since the last forecast update, let's see how those changes impact projected reserve levels and the anticipated budget gap. As we saw earlier, the reserve trajectory in December was in a worse position than it was in the adopted budget. So this line shows the updated reserve trajectory in the current base case forecast, including all the changes we just discussed. The starting point of this line has shifted downward due to the forecast changes impacting the current biennium, primarily those reduced revenues we discussed, including the land sale, eWeb silt, and state shared revenues. Without corrective action, reserves would be depleted before the end of the forecast, as shown by the red horizontal line at 0 near the bottom of this chart. So as of December, I mentioned that a $2.2 million annual budget gap was projected in the next biennium. Under today's point-in-time assumptions, the projected annual gap size has increased to $5.1 million per year. This means that a future ongoing reduction strategy of $5.1 million per year starting in the next biennium would be needed to achieve the target reserve level as shown by that dashed green line. And before we leave this slide, I do want to remind you of a couple of notable items as we look beyond our current 6-year forecast horizon. First, the stormwater fee increase to fund park services will expire after 6 years. Absent other actions, more than $5 million per year of parks expenses would return to the general fund. Second, the Oregon legislature passed a bill in 2024 that establishes a new PERS hazardous position classification with higher benefits and earlier retirement eligibility. This legislation will lead to higher contribution rates, but there's currently no estimate available for this cost increase. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Twyla.
Thank you, Maurizio. Okay, so like many other jurisdictions in Oregon and around the country and in our community, Eugene is experiencing a downturn in our financial condition as revenues decline and costs rise. While our gap is smaller than other jurisdictions, in part due to the budget strategies we've implemented before and a strategic use of our reserves, the executive team has been considering some mid-biennium strategies to implement now, to be proactive as we look to the future. This continues a history of strong fiscal management as we continue to assess current events and helps to mitigate the gap in the next biennium. So effective this month, the city is instituting a hiring pause and mandatory underspending for the remainder of the biennium. A hiring pause is not a freeze, but it allows for critical positions to be filled while holding others vacant as we have long-range financial planning conversations, begin budget development, and continue to monitor economic events. Public safety positions such as sworn officers, firefighters, paramedics, and 911 call takers and dispatchers are not subject to the pause, nor are the temporary staff needed to deliver summer services and programming in our community. All other positions will be subject to the hiring pause and must undergo a recruitment review to align with strategic and department goals and operational needs to be approved before posted. The hiring pause is for all subject positions across all funds in our organization. While this isn't sustainable over the long term, pausing hiring now creates short-term savings, provides flexibility for future service delivery, and changes as part of budget strategies and potential landing spots if filled positions are reduced in the next biennial budget development. In the general fund, we have a targeted underspending goal to underspend $3 million this biennium across general fund service areas. While city staff are good stewards of taxpayer resources, we are asking everyone to reduce expenditures as much as possible, focusing on priorities and deferring other purchases when they can. This will help us navigate uncertainty and will also offset land sale revenues that won't be achieved this biennium and provide additional reserves and flexibilities as we look to future budget development as we begin budget development this fall. Department targets will vary across departments based on operational needs and vacancies that they are currently experiencing. I will say that general fund services have become constrained after we've made many budget reductions over past years, and we are already operating in a constrained environment. So underspending to this degree will be felt in the service areas across the organization. We do feel that it's achievable in this biennium, but it's not sustainable and will have impacts. So now we can see how the underspending impacts our reserve for revenue shortfall in the current biennium. As we saw earlier, here's the anticipated reserve trajectory without action in our current base case. There we go. The projected reserve trajectory is improved by achieving the $3 million of underspending. And as we look to budget development for the next biennium, it reduces our ongoing annual gap from $5.1 million that Maurizio shared with you earlier to $4.4 million on an annual basis. Before we move to our next topic, I would like to touch upon the importance of reserve and maintaining reserves and fund balance. The city is a strong credit with a AA1 rating from our bond rating agency, Moody's. They've previously noticed our strong financial position, including fund balance and reserve levels, and they've also noted the willingness of the organization to take action in the near term to make service adjustments when needed, rather than relying on reserves in the short term to balance. This will continue to be an important factor as we look to the upcoming biennium and beyond. Next, we'll talk a little bit about our non-general funds, many of which are also in distress. They have flat and declining revenue sources and also are facing increasing cost pressures. Additionally, the uncertainty of federal and state funding to the city create additional fiscal pressures. In the past, the general fund has transferred funds to provide limited support for certain funds in distress as a stopgap measure. While I will be providing high-level overview of funds that are currently experiencing fiscal distress, we are not forecasting to provide general fund support to those funds. Rather, funds are addressing the current biennial deficits through targeted underspending or holding positions vacant. Fund managers are reviewing funds and related services over the next few months to identify areas to reduce expenses and explore revenue options where applicable as we prepare for budget development. So there's a lot of information on these next few slides. I'll be giving a high-level overview for each fund. The Ambulance Transport Fund provides emergency medical response and transport. This fund has been running a deficit due to the delay in receiving GEMT, or Ground Emergency Medical Transportation revenue, from the state, and also from the gap in Medicaid and Medicare reimbursements, which are collected at 77% of billed activity. Gap projections in the near term include assumptions for vacancies and overtime in relation to D-shift implementation. As fire has added a fourth shift this past January, additional vacancies are in the system as staff promote to fill the new D-shift roles, contributing to a deficit in the short term. Over the next year, staffing is expected to stabilize with a new academy next fall. Staffing stabilization, along with more predictable GEMT revenue and increasing transport costs, increased transport rates, are expected to stabilize the funds heading into the 2031-2033 biennium. Next, we'll talk about the Cultural Services Subfund. This subfund receives the city's transient lodging tax revenue in addition to earned revenues from venues such as the Holt Center and Cuthbert Amphitheater. TLT revenues are down from previous levels as 3 hotels in Glenwood that Eugene used to receive TLT revenue from have been moved to Springfield and Glenwood tax base, reducing our revenues. Additionally, in times of economic uncertainty, commercial bookings at our venues tend to decrease, which can impact venue revenue in the future. Fund impacts are also exacerbated by rising costs to deliver service. Lark's leadership is currently evaluating strategies to address the $750,000 annual gap in the forecast for the next biennium as they prepare for budget development. The next fund is Parking Services. Parking Services manages both on and off-street parking throughout the city of Eugene. There are several areas of impact on revenue collection, including meter vandalism, unpaid parking citations, and staff vacancies, as about 30% of parking officer positions remain unfilled at this time. And this impacts revenue collection. At the same time, costs are rising, contributing to the structural imbalance. Due to the deficit, the fund is unable to build the reserves necessary to address the backlog of capital maintenance projects. Staff are evaluating strategies to address the ongoing gap in the next biennium. The next is our Public Safety Communications Fund. This provides, supports emergency call-taking services at EPD's Central Lane Communication Center, including receiving and processing emergency calls from the caller to the call center and from the call center to the appropriate response resource. Oregon State 911 tax is the only revenue source in this fund, which is set at a flat $1.25 per subscriber line since 2021. This tax increase will sunset on January 1st, 2030, and the tax will reset back to 75 cents per line unless further action is taken at the legislative level. Tax revenue growth has already been relatively flat since fiscal year 23. Rising service costs contribute to an ongoing deficit in the fund, which has been mitigated through vacancies. If fully staffed, the anticipated annual gap is $440,000 in the next biennium. The road fund has an ongoing structural deficit that has been managed temporarily through internal underspending targets and the use of balance available. These strategies were intended to provide short-term stability while the long-term impacts of state gas tax revenues were being monitored. The recent May ballot measure was expected to provide additional revenue and would have fully eliminated the deficit in this fund across all forecast years. With the measure's failure, the road fund faces an ongoing annual gap of $2 million in the next biennium. And this cannot be managed solely through underspending. Staff are undertaking a comprehensive review of the fund and related services over the next few months to identify areas to reduce expenditures and explore revenue options. And then the telecommunications program. This is funded from fees from telecom registration fees from wireless and wireline providers who operate telecommunications facilities in Eugene. The program also collects fees from telecommunications providers for use of the public right-of-way. Right-of-way use fees are actually captured in the general fund and are not part of the program shown here. Program revenue is used for a variety of internal City of Eugene and community-facing projects. Revenue peaked at $3 million in fiscal year 18 and has been declining since then and is currently about $2 million annually. The fund has been running a deficit due to the declining revenues and increasing costs, which has been mitigated in the near term through targeted underspending and using fund balance. This isn't sustainable in the long term, and staff are identifying strategies to address the anticipated $800,000 annual gap, which is expected next biennium. Next, we'll transition to limited duration funding. We have several funding sources that are time limited. The first I'll talk about is our community safety payroll tax. The CSPT was enacted in 2019 and became effective in 2021, with implementation delayed due to impacts from the pandemic. We currently collect about $25 million in revenue a year from this revenue source, and the tax will expire with collection ending in December 31st of 2028 unless it is extended, which I'll talk about in a little bit more in a moment. This slide here shows an example of the services funding by the community safety payroll tax. It provides funding for a broad range of community safety needs as shown here. There are many more, but these are some of the highlights currently being funded. And then this graphic will show the upcoming timeline related to potential revenue lapse. So the first, here, there we go, the Citizen Advisory Board, or the CAB, reviews CSPT expenditures annually. They are also charged with creating a final report to the city manager by March 31st of 2027. This will include information on the economic impacts of the payroll tax and an analysis of the progress made toward achieving system outcomes. Sarah Emmons, the consultant that was part of the TAG work and provided a benchmarking report to you earlier this year, will be conducting the economic and financial analysis for this report, and actually writing the report for the CAB. Community engagement and feedback will also be included as part of this process. So next spring, the CAB report will be presented to council and be made publicly available. The council will then hold a public hearing to hear community input regarding whether the payroll tax is accomplishing the objectives in the ordinance. By June 30th, 2027, council will decide if this community safety payroll tax should be referred to the ballot. Without alternate action or further action, the tax would end and we would stop collecting the tax as of December 31st, 2028. We have other limited duration funding mechanisms as well, including our levies. So the Parks Levy funds parks, trails, and natural area maintenance, as well as other services listed here. This levy generates $5.3 million per year and will expire at the end of fiscal year 28. We also have bonding, so we have a series of recurring street bonds every 5 years. This current bond is the fourth in the series and funds $61.2 million in projects over 5 years. This bond will expire at the end of fiscal year 29. Just last month, voters approved the renewal of the library local option levy, which will generate $4.3 million for a variety of services. This levy will expire at the end of fiscal year 31. And then we've shown this slide before. Each fall, we connect with other jurisdictions to update estimated timing of potential election measures. This is from the update last fall. You can see in November 2027, the payroll tax and the next series of street bonds could be on the ballot, with the last date for the Parks levy in the May 2028 election prior to that levy expiring. We currently have the street bond on the ballot well before it expires. In this case, the current bond would expire at the end of FY29, but it's shown here as a potential ballot measure in November of 2027. This is to allow for certainty in funding so that pre-design work can begin to allow projects to be shovel-ready if a new bond is enacted. We have also issued bonds for other service areas as directed by council, which aren't shown here. These include a series of parks bonds, construction bonds many years ago for public safety facilities, and also bond authority to support urban renewal cash flow needs. And then finally, in this section is our stormwater rate increase. We do have the temporary stormwater rate increase that was enacted as part of the current biennial budget to support parks and open space operations and maintenance previously funded in the general fund. This is a limited term rate increase that will expire at the end of fiscal year 31 unless other action is taken. So next, we'll talk briefly at a high level about unfunded needs. So an unfunded needs analysis for a local jurisdiction is a structured assessment that identifies services, programs, projects, or infrastructure needs that the government should provide, but currently cannot fund within existing resources. For many years, we've had iterations of this assessment, including the multi-year financial plan and the UNA, or unfunded needs assessment. We typically update an inventory in a capital planning year as we prepare for the next budget cycle, and then update that list as new needs become known through the budget cycle. This is an internal tool that provides information to think strategically in the short, mid, and long-term timeframes. Staff have been working to identify needs over a 10-year time horizon, and that project is currently in process. I'll briefly discuss the categories and types of needs being identified by staff. I do anticipate more information on unfunded needs to come back as part of our capital improvement program conversation in the winter and also as part of budget development. So the first category is capital needs. So capital needs are large, long-term investments in physical assets. There is a wide range of capital needs for existing infrastructure across all city departments, from deferred maintenance in our city buildings and parking garages to replacement of older buildings such as our fleet facility, along with improvements to systems such as wastewater. Additionally, as our community continues to grow, we will need to invest in new facilities such as fire stations, police precincts, and parks infrastructure. Next are operational needs. These are needs for the day-to-day resources and expenditures an organization requires to function effectively. As the organization is contracted through budget cycles, there are areas of the organization that are not right-sized to meet the current organizational needs and strategic initiatives. There is also a gap in resources to meet current and future state mandates. Additionally, as the organization and community grow, additional staff are anticipated to be needed longer term to support both the city operation and to staff new facilities that would be constructed over time. There are a wide range of equipment and technology needs across the organization. Equipment ranges from gear and equipment needed by our public safety function to software and technology advances to modernize processes, update key systems, and develop database solutions, as well as continued investments in core technology needs to support the backbone of our information technology system. I've already talked a lot about distress funds, so I won't go into a lot of detail here other than to say that in addition to the structural gaps for those funds that I talked about earlier, as the community grows, additional pressures will be on these funds to provide increased service delivery to the community and the organization. Additionally, federal and state funding constraints continue to create uncertainty, such as declining HUD funding for housing needs. So this slide is showing some of the proposed budget reductions in the 2025-2027 proposed budget that were added back on a one-time basis for the biennium. These service areas will be evaluated over the summer in advance of budget development as we think about developing our next biennial budget. And then you may recognize this slide from your April 8th meeting on long-range financial planning and economic development following the TAG report and recommendations you received last winter. At that meeting, Council passed a motion to add 3 economic development positions to the June 2026 supplemental budget. The 4th position shown on the far right is an existing position that is currently funded within Building and Permit Services and doesn't require council action. It is shown here because it's part of the overall package that supports this goal. The June supplemental budget action would add $800,000 for the 3 positions plus materials and services from the reserve for revenue shortfall for the remainder of the biennium and be included ongoing in future budget cycles. The current biennium impact on reserve was shown as part of the increased budget gap that Mauricio showed earlier this evening. In light of the city's current financial condition and in an effort not to spend reserves for ongoing expenses, staff are providing an alternate approach to achieving economic growth goals for council consideration. This phased approach would retain the business development manager in the June supplemental budget and include the 2 remaining analyst positions as part of budget development for the next budget cycle. This would allow for hiring of the business development manager this year and the development of an economic development action plan in the near term. Planning and development staff have identified current biennium underspending due to vacancies and underspending plan for materials and services, which could be used to offset the cost of this position in the current cycle with ongoing position funding incorporated into the upcoming budget development cycle, along with the analyst positions shown here. While this approach would delay implementation support for the action plan, as well as implementation of strategies to be developed in the housing production strategies process, it is a viable approach to step into this work, given our financial condition. One moment while we work through some technical difficulties. Oh, there we go. And we're back. Okay. So long-range financial planning is complex. There are a lot of different moving parts and a lot of different needs across our organization. The service framework and budget principles that you'll be developing as part of your workshop later this month will be foundational in budget building for the next biennium across all funds and as we consider the full range of needs facing our organization and community. One last piece I'd like to touch on is financial strategies. These are a range of levers to address financial stability in the short, mid, and long-term timeframes. We will be building the next biennial budget while also working on mid and long-term needs and strategies. There are a range of levers shown here that can be used to address needs over time, including revenue solutions and tax reform, issuing debt as appropriate to address capital needs, considering the full range of potential service changes, which include expenditure reductions, considering alternate service delivery models, and evaluating investment trade-offs and potential impacts. These can all be used to develop short, mid, and long-term solutions. Additional long-term solutions include economic development, job growth, and annexation. So Mauricio and I have provided a lot of information to you this evening. Before we open the floor for questions and discussion, I'm going to turn things over to Nancy Hetrick, who will provide a brief overview of what's coming next in this process.
Okay, thank you, Twyla. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. This will be quick because I know that there will be questions. It's a lot to process, as with other sessions you've participated in. So quickly, I want to just give a little bit of a preview of where we are in planning for Council's workshop later this month. So we're scheduled, as you mentioned earlier, on June 30th and July 1st, 2 half-day sessions. I'm currently underway conducting individual interviews with mayor and councilors. I'm about halfway done. I have completed 4. I have 5 remaining this week and next. So we'll have those complete. I want to make sure that I have input from each of you to help inform the agenda and the workshop materials. So I appreciate your time and involvement in those interviews. However, we are starting to put together some elements, and I want to give you a bit of a preview. So second on here, the agenda, workshop agenda and workshop materials. I wanted to let you know that you can anticipate receiving a packet ahead of the workshop, recognizing this is complex, important work, and we want to make sure that you are equipped and prepared to come and engage actively during our time together. So you can anticipate that the week prior to the workshop, and then we will convene together for 2 half-days at the end of the month, beginning of July, with a follow-up session planned for July the 13th as a study session to affirm the outcomes of our time together and make any adjustments that might be needed. So that's on the calendar as well. If you take us to the next slide, preview just some of the basic objectives. These are preliminary, this and the elements of the workshop to be finalized and informed by council interviews, but also working with your city manager and finance director to prepare for the workshop. But in essence, we want to make sure that there is a time and space and opportunity to engage in this really important information and start to chart your path forward together. This is important work and not something that can occur, as you know, during a council meeting. And so we have set aside special time for this. So some of the workshop objectives, first of all, we want to make sure that everybody's speaking the same language, has a shared understanding of a framework that you will use as you advance and move forward through the budget development process and ultimately to achieve the financial sustainability of the city. So building a shared understanding, clarifying priorities and directions. This is also important. Some of the considerations and the framework we'll be working on together are intended to drive the discussion around the solution for the short term to resolve your budget imbalance. However, we know that there are long-term needs and priorities that are outlined in your strategic plan and that are important to your community and to each of you. And it's important to not lose sight of those. Importantly, those priorities are going to be a key ingredient for evaluating how you want to build your budget. So we'll work through the strategic plan, hoping to extend the horizon of the existing plan, but with council's input, involvement, and priorities nicely nested into that. So the last objective is just making sure that there is a clear path forward and an agreed upon approach for how the city can put together a recommended budget for council consideration that is intentional, thoughtful, and well conceived. So the next slide just outlines some of the key elements you can anticipate in our workshop. Again, the agenda is in development and will not be finalized until we have completed the interviews, but we will have this to you ahead of time. So some of the key elements, first of all, recognizing that resolving an issue like financial sustainability requires all hands on deck. There are very critical and important roles for elected body to make and to provide direction on, and for staff to deliver on. We'll want to make sure we have an opportunity to evaluate those roles and have conversation so that you are equipped to work together effectively and make sure that this is a long-term solution for the betterment of all. Some of the elements that you have heard about in the presentation this evening and in prior times are the other elements we'll be talking about during our workshop. We'll talk about budget principles. These are some basic guidelines, financial policies you can use and that staff can use to create some guardrails and some expectations for evaluating options, what's on the table, what's off the table, what's going to be important to consider. We'll also work through in a workshop format the services evaluation framework. So you'll recall at our last session, we presented a number of models. We got your feedback, the Toronto model being some of the elements you liked, but also recognizing that this is going to take time. There may be some iteration and development that needs to occur as the city shifts into the use of a framework such as was presented to you. So keeping it simple, at least at the start, but to start to build the tools and the muscles that are going to be important for long-term sustainability. So we'll talk about that and get agreement on what the definitions and the key elements ought to look like to start to inform staff's work. Next, as I mentioned, the last two kind of touch together, council priorities that I'm hearing during our conversations, reflecting the community priorities as well as how they fit within the city's fiscal constraints. Some priorities may need to slow. Some priorities may need to maintain pace. So some of these things we'll have to talk about in the workshop, and these will link right back into the strategic plan and the elements that are contained in that plan currently. Part of the recommendation is to extend, I mentioned previously, the life of the plan with council's input to align it to the cycle of the budget and allow some time and space to resolve the budget problems while still nesting it into what's important for the future. So that's a little bit of an overview on the elements of the workshop we're anticipating. We'll have a more thorough packet provided to you in advance. Happy to take any questions that you may have, but that gives a little bit of a preview, hopefully, and what you might understand or might enjoy when we're together.
Thank you, Nancy. And with that, that's the end of our presentation tonight, and I'll turn things over to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you to our staff here in the room for that presentation. A lot of information and important updates for us all. I'll now open the floor to council discussion. Councillor Evans in the queue, Councillor Kuczynski second.
Okay.
Councillor Evans.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And one of the things that jumped out at me going back to slide 24, I'm looking at, you talked about the hiring freeze and impacts in terms of service reductions, and also with regard to the CSI. Have we anticipated increases in expenses around the CSI with regard to inflation? Because we passed it in 2019, was scheduled to implement it beginning in 2021. We just started implementing it the last few years. But over time, there's going to be, with the inflationary spiral we're on now, you know, it's not just gas and food, it's everything else. So have we determined what those cost increases are going to look like prior to us? I know that the chief has talked about going out for a renewal here either in 27 or 2029.
Thank you, Counselor. So for the Community Safety Payroll Tax Fund, like all of our funds, we do 6-year and longer forecasts where we're forecasting both on the revenue side, so showing revenue growth and impacts, and that's also on the expenditure side. So when we think about expenditures for most of our funds, it's really, it takes people to deliver service. So there's personnel costs, there's also inflationary factors for materials and services, and we know in some cases for this fund and other funds that there are costs that are increasing higher than inflation as we think about certain goods and services, fuel, you know, a range of things. So yes, we do regularly look at those forecasts and model and run a range of scenarios to try to understand what the future range of impact might look like.
Do we have like a ballpark idea of what those increases are going to look like? What are we going to be coming back to ask our voters to approve?
Well, the rate is set in charter, so we wouldn't be coming back to change the rate. What would be coming back would be should the payroll tax continue as is under current rate. I'm looking at our city attorney.
Okay.
I'm seeing an attorney answer here, so I'll defer to Catherine.
Just a real quick reminder of the way the ordinance was written at the time that you passed it is that at the time that you passed the rates that are in the ordinance that are in your code, you simultaneously put out to the voters a charter amendment that said that the community safety payroll tax percentages, the amount of the tax would stay the same, would not change, and would only be used for public safety purposes. And as it's written right now, you will make that decision, and she showed it on your timeline, as it's written right now, and it's an ordinance. So these were your decisions at the time and can be changed, but that you would make a decision whether or not to refer it to the voters in 2027, and what you'd be referring is what is in existence right now. It wouldn't change. Okay. And then if you refer it to the voters and let's say it doesn't pass, that's when it will cease to be collected. You gave yourself time to kind of wind it down, about 1.5 years to wind it down, and it would stop being in effect, stop being collected in December 31st, 2028.
So structurally, we can't address the increase in expenses that have occurred over,
You can, there's a couple of things that would be available.
we're talking about 8 years now.
There's a couple of things that would be available to you. You have some provisions that you adopted as part of your ordinance that had some variance to the rates. You could look at those and see if you could impact those, because those are in code and those are completely within your authority. You could choose to refer a charter amendment to increase the rate. That is also completely within your authority. But as it is right now, the total maximum rates that you have are set in charter.
We would have to go back to the voters in order to change the charter.
Yes.
Counselor Krasinski.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I always wish it was a slightly more cheerful presentation than it is, and so someday you'll be able to give one that's like all good news someday. Looking with the community safety payroll tax, from a timing perspective, when we're creating the budget, the assumption in the budget for next biennium that we'll see this time next year would assume that that doesn't continue, correct? Like if you have a revenue source that's scheduled to end and would need action to continue, when you create the budget, you create it assuming that it doesn't continue, is that right? Am I remembering that right?
Typically, when we've had levies and other things, sometimes we have created the budget knowing that a council conversation is happening. So it depends on the timing and the conversations happening at council. So we've had actually both paths probably over time where we've put something in or we have not and then come back on a supplemental budget to true up based on council action or an election.
Okay, thank you. I'm just thinking about like how we can expect the timing of the conversation about the payroll tax to impact what we see in the budget so that we're going into that kind of knowing what that's going to look like, and do we need to look at some of that timing to make it work
The other thing I will say is, as the city attorney said, we have built in a tail. So tax collection, would end at the end of December of 2028. So there's, even if action is taken in November of 2027 or not taken, we do have some time to have further conversations and come back to council and the community.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to be all over the place. When we look at the distressed funds, like I feel like this was more distressed funds than I remember seeing, and some of them were enterprise funds. Is that just perception, or is that we have more funds that are distressed than we normally do?
I will say we gave more information this round. Typically, we highlight a few. I always have a list of funds that I'm watching. So there were probably a couple of more than you're used to seeing. But generally, the funds we talked about tonight are ones we, over the past few years when we talk about non-general funds that are experiencing fiscal distress, they are ones we've mentioned, but it's usually a much higher level, and we don't go into the level of detail we did this evening.
Yeah, and it does feel like they all have sort of different funding sources with different challenges, but it feels like there's some common threads as to why we're seeing so much in the distressed funds, particularly like when we're looking at inflation and things like that and the impacts there. When we're having our more strategic discussions, I'm assuming we're going to be looking at those funds as well. It's not, we tend to focus on the general fund pretty exclusively, and I'm hoping that we'll also be talking about some of those distressed funds as part of our broader budget discussions.
Yes, we will. As I mentioned, all of the fund managers are really looking across their funds holistically and looking at developing budget strategies. So I think while many of our conversations usually are focused on the structural gap in the general fund, I think through budget development and conversations, there will be, you'll see some some budgetary impacts and decisions coming forth on some of the non-generals as well.
Thank you. And then talking about the unfunded needs assessment, I remember that as being a fairly detailed document of being like, we need 6 new computers. I don't think it's that detailed, but it's fairly detailed and fairly focused on continuing existing services or that kind of thing. How does things the community is asking for or needing, or gaps that are being created because other jurisdictions or federal things are going away, how does that get folded into that? Like a community need that's not really currently have a action plan for it in our budget?
I think it's a mix of a lot of those different things. So one thing I will say is this cycle, we're taking a longer time frame. So a lot of times we've looked, 4 or 6 years. We are looking farther out across the horizon. So we're looking over a 10-year time frame. A lot of the things are internal, whether it's equipment or operational needs. But I would say there's a range of things, even when we're thinking about some of the items that, for instance, we funded one time in the 2025, 2027 budget, such as in-house services or other issues, state mandates, other mandates that are coming down. A lot of those are also being identified as part of that as well. So yes, it's a large list and it has a variety of pieces. I think the other thing I would think about is as you're having strategic plan conversations, I would say that's the other difference. So when we've done these before, we didn't have a strategic plan and we weren't doing a community survey. And so, this is the first large unfunded needs assessment where we're actually also concurrently looking at refining our strat plan and taking into account information from our community survey. So I think from a variety of sources, not just the unfunded needs assessment, but a lot of those other community impacts will kind of float to the surface in conjunction with that internal work we're doing.
Thank you, and I'll want a second round, I think.
Councillor Groves?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Twyla and Nancy and Rachel, for the presentation. It feels like we're always dealing with one of 3 levels of budget: bad, worse, and the worst it's ever been. So we're trying to hit bad this year, I'm guessing. Anyway, as far as the GEMT, did we ever get that straightened out with the state? If you'll recall, Oregon Health Authority told the feds that we could get by with 50% of what we were getting for ambulance systems across the state. And we met with our legislative representatives, and they were going to fix that. But I never heard if it was actually fixed or not.
I'll let the chief come up and answer that question.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. We have gotten some of it sorted out, but there's been a lot of changes at OHA that have delayed payments for us recently. And so whereas the money has stabilized, we're watching for an uncertain future with House Resolution 1 at the federal level, potentially capping GEMT payments along with, or at the Medicare rate in the out years. Make adjustments and we correct for the future where possible.
Thank you. And before you go away, also want to ask about equipment. I haven't seen any real breakdowns. I understand, labor is one of our biggest cost centers, but I also know equipment's been trending up, especially in fire, double-digit inflation on much of our apparatus as well. But I don't know if that applies to police vehicles, if it applies to heavy equipment and public works. I think some information on that might be helpful.
What I will say is that my team has been meeting with a lot of the internal service fund managers and the fund managers across the organization, and we are hearing what you're talking about, where In certain sectors, costs are increasing at much larger cost increase than inflation. So whether it's vehicles, certain equipment, even things like software contracts and other things where they're really rising at a much higher cost. So yes, I think across the organization, we're seeing that in pockets. If you'd like additional information, we can provide some to you, but I'm not sure if that's a satisfactory answer.
I'm not looking for a lot of detailed work, but just, it'd be nice to get kind of a ballpark on this, so we kind of understand how that cost driver is affecting the overall budget. I also know there's delays in delivery that we haven't experienced in the past. And what is that doing? Is that driving cost as well? I'd just like to see us dig into that area a little bit more, just so we understand.
Yes, we should be able to provide some high-level information to provide examples of where we're seeing that across the organization, which would be helpful, I think. Yeah.
Okay, great, yeah. It's, I know our people are our most important asset, and they're really the ones that get the work done out there, but they also have to be equipped properly and safely in order to do the work. So I'll be interested in that piece as well. That's all I have at this time. I've got a bunch of questions still in my head, but it's getting pretty granular, so I'll just stop for now. Thank you.
So in this first round, have Counselor Leach and Counselor Clark, and then a second round for Counselor Evans and Counselor Kaczynski already requested. Counselor Slinker, Counselor Keating, I'll try to keep an eye on you. Counselor Keating, thank you. I'll add you to the first round as well. Counselor Leach.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for presenting this sobering information. Whenever we see you, it feels like it's your job to deliver some difficult news. I want to talk a little bit about the economic development positions. Thank you for putting this into this work session. One question I have is that 5.1 million gap, it does include the $800,000 or so of those 3 positions?
Yes, so the 5.1 million gap that Mauricio mentioned included the motion as was made in April to add the 3 positions with funding coming from reserves.
Thank you. I think in grand scope, it's really hard to see us not eliminating, but really pausing hiring a lot of positions that I think many would say are critical to the operation of the organization. To bring in all 3 of these positions in this supplemental budget. It's my understanding that our staff have prepared a motion that would allow us to move forward in an alternative pathway for this budget. I would be interested in pursuing that. That would bring in the manager position now and pause until we go through the other to the next budget cycle to implement, if the budget feels like we can handle that. I mean, I'm a pro figuring out our long-term situation and our economic development. I think it's really important, and also balancing our current budget on the backs of our current employees and the amount of work that they have to go through without some of these positions, I think is really unfair. So I would love to hear from my colleagues on that, and if we can get the motion just read out loud so we know.
I brought a motion. I didn't know if you were going to be interested in making something today or at the time of adoption of supplemental budget, so I brought one with me, and I will hand it to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Fantastic work, guys. This is hard stuff, and it's a long-term picture, hard to know all the stuff. I saw the list of partners you have to work with to get all the commensurate data in order to make an accurate and a good forecast. That's fantastic. There's only one piece of data I would request that we don't have that I would love to add to this process as we go through the rest of the process. And that's to contextualize the data in our community just a little bit further by looking at median income over time of our community, as well as employment versus unemployment in our community over time, and assessment value on homes as well over time, so we can see what's the direction of where our community is going and where the tax base and the people who got to pay this stuff, where are they really in compared to other points in time if we're going to have decisions about what we do or what we ask of our fellow community members moving forward? That would be a request of mine.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. We certainly can include that in the materials for your workshop.
Counselor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Twyla, thank you to you and the team for as Councilor Leach framed it, a sobering discussion. Would you, since we talked, is there a way to give us an update or remind us, especially since there's at least one new counselor since the last biennium when we did a creative thing by, and I'm probably going to botch this up by describing it, which is why I'm asking for some clarification. By housing some of the animal services dollars under public safety or under the public safety payroll tax, and I know it's a lot more complicated than that, which is why I'm asking for clarification. Since we did that creative budgeting approach 2 years ago, we now have a new city manager and a new city councilor, and I just would like some clarification if community safety payroll tax is going to go back to the voters, how we could continue to make the case that animal services belongs housed under the public safety umbrella, because without funding appropriately, we have a public safety nightmare on our hands. Could you refresh my memory and colleagues' memory as to what exactly we did last biennium when it comes to animal services, public safety, and payroll tax? Please.
So Councilor Keating, this was I'm remembering what you're referring to as part of the 23-25 budget process. And I may have to get back to you on the exact details, but it wasn't that we moved animal services into CSPT. I think we used CSPT dollars for a CSPT eligible expenditure to free up funding in the general fund to pay for animal services in the biennium. I can't remember the specifics, but we certainly can get that and provide that to you as part of your pre-workshop materials.
I greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to my interview later this week. I'm excited to hear that half or almost half of council have been interviewed, and I want to be really clear that our commitment to our four-legged friends, not only by statute but in my heart, is a top priority. And I would love to have a refresher as to how we solved that budget problem in that last biennium. And that way it's not on the sidelines when it comes to this biennium's conversation. It's at the forefront of the conversation, at least from my vantage point. It's a top priority for our community, and it clearly continues to be a top priority for me. So thank you for that, Twyla. Could you, and I apologize for this question because my connection was spotty after you mentioned the temporary pause. And you said that it's not a freeze, it's a pause. You may have elaborated on that, but my phone connection was spotty. Could you share with me, please, if we have time, what's in your opinion, or what's the difference? How can I wrap my head around, or is there a difference between a hiring pause and a hiring freeze?
Sure. So a hiring freeze would be, we would freeze all positions and we wouldn't hire any vacant position for any reason for a period of time. A hiring pause is more strategic in that it allows us to fill critical positions that we need to provide service to the community while evaluating any vacancy that comes forward to see how it aligns with strategic and organizational goals, so that we keep strategic work moving forward in the organization and the community while still holding positions both for budget savings, to allow time for us to think about how we're going to develop budget strategies, and then also in the event that we have filled positions we have to reduce in the next biennium, we have landing spots potentially for some of our current employees as we move forward. Does that help?
It does. Thank you. Mayor, for the sake of time, we'll pause there and allow for time for colleagues for a second round.
Counselor Zelenka?
Yeah, thank you. Twyla and Maurizio, and this great presentation, a lot of information, a lot of work to pull that together. I know that didn't happen overnight. And it was very well presented for how complex it was.
Counselor Zelenka, can you hear me? We lost your audio in the room.
Hey, Mayor, for clarification, I could hear Councilor Zelenka just fine.
Thank you, Counselor Keating.
Can you hear
Counselor-
me now?
We can.
Yeah.
Thank you, Counselor. Please continue.
Okay. So one of the slides showed 15 of 18 in the last budgets were cut budgets. And now this one's going to be 16 of 19. Being that this is my 30th budget I've gone through with the city of Eugene, I've kind of gotten used to it. But it's no less heartening to understand what that means when you have a budget that has cuts to services that have built-in constituencies that we all found out about it very recently. So I wanted to say that I too would be interested in Councilor Leach's mode, the one that Councilor Leach was talking about, that would modify the previous motion on economic development positions. That makes sense given the budget picture that we are seeing right now. So I'd be eager to look at that as well. If not today, very soon. I'd encourage doing it today because time is running out on this process. And then finally, on the CSI, I don't necessarily think that the council has to go out to the public for a yes/no vote on the CSI. I think that that it's proven its case, and we might want to think about an alternative strategy where instead of going out on a yes/no vote on it, that we go out to potentially increase it and keep up with the needs that we have within the city. And so that might be an alternative path that the council goes on that might be well received in the community.
Thank you, Counselor and Counselors. I think we're going to head into the second round, and I have Counselor Evans and then Counselor Kaczynski before we wrap up our meeting at 7, and Counselor Groves. Oh, okay, thank you. Counselor Evans.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, I didn't know whether you're done or not. I want to quickly go back to slide 48 and to the third bullet, which we're talking about declining HUD funding. And one of the priorities this council has had over the last couple of years, or even longer than that, is being able to provide more affordable housing, for our residents. And our partnerships with the federal government are critical to that. And given the level of uncertainty that we have with those partnerships, can you kind of elaborate on what the decline in HUD funding is ultimately going to mean for us in terms of providing affordable housing and financing that, as well as looking at other parts or other federal grants that we, in other areas that we have the potential to not have anymore? Or I'll give you the classic example that I've been looking at is what happened with the original airport grant before this administration took office. And then we had that grant rolled back or canceled, and then we got it back again. I'm concerned that we are going to continue to be sitting in this level of uncertainty with both our federal and state partners based on their efforts to push push a lot of this stuff back on municipalities and back on states versus the federal government assuming the role that it has assumed in the partnership to date?
Well, I would say there still remains a lot of uncertainty at the federal level, and things are changing. And so staff are diligent about keeping track of changes and watching and understanding what's happening. So I think we will continue to be in that area or kind of that range for a while. So we just continue to watch. I'm not sure if anyone's here to answer your question about HUD. If they're not, we certainly can provide an answer for
I
you.
think somebody's popping up.
Here comes Will. I'll let him answer.
I'd like to know just how much we're losing from, investments in HUD or HUD's investments in us.
Hi, I'm Will Dowdy. I'm the Community Development Director. So this year, we're receiving about $2.5 million in HUD grants. That's home and CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant. The answer, it depends on what time frame you look at, but in about over the last 20 years, we've seen that number, basically, the effective number decrease by half. So we were getting, so when you adjust for inflation, in today's dollars, 20 years ago, we were getting about $5 million. This year, we're getting about $2.5 million. That has steadily declined over that course of time, ups and downs along the way. And then, but that's where we are. And so, so to provide the same community services that we were 20 years ago would require an additional $2.5 million.
Do we have a strategy to close at least part of that gap? Are we looking at, additional resources possibly at the state level? Other than us having to dig more money up than we already have?
So one of the things that council did was institute the construction excise tax, the CET.
Yeah,
So that
CET,
has been one way over the last few years that council has created some local control with local funding to support affordable housing. The state has also been a partner working through the way that they're deploying resources for affordable housing. So the landscape is constantly shifting, and we have good years for the CET and bad years. So overall, we are facing incredible need in the community, and we have a lot of very innovative partners who are always looking for ways to maximize their ability to make housing production.
Thank you, staff. Councilor Krasinski.
I was going to talk about the business economic development position, so I will not, and allow Councilor Leach time to make a motion if she wishes.
Thank you. I'll turn to Councilor Leach to put a motion forward.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to direct the city manager to add the business development manager position to the June supplemental budget and include the 2 analyst positions in the 2027 to 2029 proposed budget.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion from council? Councilor Clark?
Thank you, Mayor. Since Will's at the table, what would be the impact of this particular motion? I know that, I hate to put you on the spot that way, brother. But.
So adding the positions would allow us to move forward on, adding one position would allow us to move forward in partnership with community groups that are working on a regional strategy, allow us to identify what is important to the city of Eugene, and allow us to then create a tailored action plan for Eugene that incorporates the best elements of the regional strategy with the work plan in front of us.
I looked at the dire numbers, and my original vote was to say yes to all 3 because I thought the presentation you guys made was that we needed them. My question is, if we delay the other 2, what's the impact?
There's work that we would not be doing. It would be work associated with the work plan that we would have set for the other 2 positions would involve looking at the Clear Lake infrastructure implementation and looking at regional wetlands. There's work that we do with the business liaison program that we have to divert into the enterprise zone program. So there's a variety of different things there. But if we go forward with this plan, then we would just begin working on those as soon as the hired.
So same work, just more slowly.
Yep.
Thank you.
I will offer before Councillor Groves, for those following along, that in our AIS, it's outlined that this business development manager would develop an economic development strategic plan over the course of the first year and then hire the analyst positions to work on implementing the economic development plan, strategic plan, if that is the path that is funded. And I just want to offer to council that that is a strategic approach to this work and this type of investment that's consistent with many other cities that have been successful in this work. So wanted to offer my support in that context for this conversation. Councillor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor. I think my question was already answered in that last round. Thank you.
Thank you. Then seeing no, Councillor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand the old adage, it takes money to make money, but I remain confused and concerned that don't we already have talent in-house who could do this work? And in a budget in which it was just, or in a budget year, budget biennium, which was just impressed upon us that there's north of $2 million worth of cuts to then spend $800,000 at the same time to bring on 3 new persons. And I know that this motion brings on a director and then delays the other 2 positions until the 27, 28 years, I understand it. It gives me heartburn to, which is why I voted no in the first place. It gives me heartburn to put so much on the table at a time where we know we're gonna have to tighten our belt. So my question is, don't we already have talent in-house who could do this work that we asked our partners, we asked our state partners to make critical investments in economic development throughout our community? And I don't remember the conversation being, please invest in this economic development. And then we're going to come back to council and ask for $800,000 for 3 new positions. So my question is, don't we already have the talent locally who are already hired by the city of Eugene to execute this plan or vision? And if not, and if so, then what's is the reason just to expedite the work? I'm fuzzy on, I hear the need, but I'm fuzzy on the urgency.
Counselor, planning and development staff probably have far more to offer on this, but I will say that that team is very small and has been, actually, I believe, had a budget reduction in the last cycle. So if we're gonna, I'll leave it to Alyssa to discuss, but if we're gonna invest in a new strategic effort, I'm not sure that current staffing is available for this plan.
Good afternoon, good evening, Alyssa Hunter, Planning and Development Director, and I just want to confirm what Twyla said is correct. Is my mic?
Is your microphone on?
How about now? How about now?
Thank you. Yes.
Great. Okay, let me start over. Good evening, Alyssa Hunter, Planning and Development Director, and I just want to confirm that what Twyla said is correct. So 2 things. One, we did eliminate an economic development position in the last budget cycle. And if you can think back to the April work session, Will walked through kind of what our current setup is in terms of staff that do economic development work. We have a manager who does a lot of the high-level stuff, and then we have 2 staff, one who works on business loans and one who is a development liaison. We do not have the capacity to take on the work that is called out in the TAG plan or any of the other economic development work that has been discussed this evening.
Thank you, staff. Seeing no further questions from council, and I'll take a vote for this motion. All in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And all opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you. And the motion passes with a vote of 7 to 1. Thank you, staff, whole team of staff. Thank you especially to our finance team for the incredibly robust presentation. A lot of information for us into our remaining meetings this month and this summer. And this concludes our agenda for today. So I now close the June 8th, 2026 City Council work session, and we are adjourned.